Very grateful to Jan and Lindsay from the JRMO for joining us today for this session on managing your project finances. So they and Tracy are here to help you with that kind of and anything to do with post-award, basically. So they're going to start with a short presentation, I think, and then kind of do a bit of troubleshooting, take any questions that come up, and give you any guidance that you need on this subject. So I'll hand over to Jan and Lindsay.
Okay, that's just to let people that don't know us. Lindsay Warren, who's the post-award manager, and I'm Jan Clark, the head of post-award.
Good morning, everybody. So I'll start. Can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a brief overview of post-award. So the first slide is really just some facts, and it relates to last financial year, 2021 to 22. There's 306 new awards in FMD, total value of 82.8 million. 172 new awards from science and engineering, value of 41.2 million. And we've got 52 new awards from H&SS, the value of 4.5 million. And then a total of over 2,607 invoices raised over value of 69.6 million. So that's quite a lot of activity going on for last year. Post-award responsibilities, we've split into what really ultimately the grant holder PI is responsible for, and what the JRMO finance team, post-award team, are responsible for. So if I just go through what the grant holder is responsible for, and their overall responsibility for the award. They conduct and supervise research, comply with funders' terms and conditions, financial management, scientific reporting. Obviously, they can delegate responsibility, but not accountability. So the next, what is the JRMO Finance Administrator responsible for? They're responsible for assisting the grant holder PI with project administration, ensure the sales invoices are raised in a timely manner. We monitor the expenditure against the budgets, making sure they're not going overspent and not leaving big underspends, and manage the overspends. We submit the financial expenditure statements to the funder in accordance with the terms and conditions of the award. We also manage the close down of any awards and the any final reports and the close downs with the funder. We progress the award to project live on work type. Once the award letter or contract has been issued, we approve the staff adverts and appointments through iGrasp. We do the account reconciliation. We do the invoicing of financial statements. We manage the external audits, advise on research administration matters and any queries. And we aim to close the project on WorkTribe and Aggresso within 6 months of the end date of the project. And this is just a typical life cycle of post-award. I mean, it starts off the PI or grant holder will have an idea for a project. They will collaborate with the other researchers and institutions. They will find a funder and they select eligible funders and type of schemes that they want to go in for. They prepare the proposal, develop the science, cost, price, review, terms and conditions, and they approval and submit to the funder. Award setup, award review and setup. They look at the terms and conditions, and then they go in for the contract negotiation. At that time, we can set up a budget code. Then we go into award management, which is part of the post-award process. Again, staff appointments, recruiting on to the new project, managing the expenditure and invoicing in any financial statements that are needed. And then at the end, account closure, final reconciliation is done by the post-award team, any scientific, financial reporting and audit requirements. Some work tribe terminology, for those that don't really know yet. Bid awaiting response. Now, this is a notification from the funder that the application has been successful. The PI is to upload the award letter to Work Tribe and inform the post-award team via the comments tab. Award setup. This is when a letter or an email is issued of intent to fund the project from the funder. The budget code can be allocated for recruitment purposes only. Project setup. When it comes into project setup, the award letter, the signed contract is received. The project will be made live on Work Tribe via an overnight interface feed into Aggresso. So the JRMO management reports. Award notification on Work Tribe, monthly budget expenditure reports, the overnight feed of expenditure from Aggresso to Work Tribe, viewable, that's viewable under the Actuals tab, final expenditure statements, and any ad hoc statistical reports as required. Now, this is a diagram I was told by Tor this morning. This is on your intranet. It's not one of our slides, so I don't know if Patrick or Tracy want to talk through this.
Not particularly.
I'm
I'm
here as
Oh,
well.
go on then,
actually.
Tor.
Well, it was really just to signpost, really. I don't think we need to talk through it. It's already been talked through at an all-staff meeting. But I just thought it was relevant to just give people that sign that we have that on the intranet, so that it's a one-stop shop really for everything you've talked through, but as a sort of flow diagram. So just making people aware.
That's our slides. Our slides are complete, so I don't know how you want to do this. Any Q&As, or how do you want to do this, Tracy or Tor? Has anybody got any questions?
If anyone's got any questions, I mean, your slides covered everything, but I'm sure people are on there for a reason. So please, as you can see, Sarah, thank you. Put your hands up and ask your questions. This is your opportunity to anything that you're not sure about, or you always get stuck on, or you're not sure who to go to. Yeah, raise now.
Hi.
Sarah?
So I have just started in my role as trial manager. I just want to know who would be my contact in your team that I would go to.
It's on Work Tribe. Have you got access to Work Tribe? Because
I haven't yet. No. So
Oh.
I'm going to raise that with my manager today to try and get that set up.
Yeah.
So will it be self-explanatory once I've done that?
Well, you have to look for it. It's under the details tab. You'll see the pre-award contact and the post-award contact for that particular grant, because obviously we have a pre-award team and a post-award team. So yeah, that's the best place to look at it. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I would also say, Susie, your first point of contact, as well as the JRMO, is actually your centre manager. So they should be in the loop with whatever project you're working on. That's from pre-award, from the moment you decide I'm looking to complete, draft an application, they should be in the loop.
Right.
So any queries on it, it should initially probably go to them first, because they might be able to resolve it before you bump it up to JRMO, depending on what it is. It might then be a case that it is a JRMO question that needs to be supported by them, but depending on what it is, it should probably go to your centre manager first.
Yeah, and to back that up really, Tracy, what you're saying there, a lot of things are on WorkTribe. So you've got a documents tab, which we upload any relevant document. So you might find your answer there. It might all be sitting in the system because it is a management system. I mean, and unless it's not, then obviously you come to, as Tracy's suggesting, your centre manager, and then finally the JRMO if you can't find what you're looking for.
That's great, thank you.
So,
Sarah.
Hi, yes, sorry. So I wasn't aware of the need to upload the award letter onto WorkTribe to change the status on WorkTribe. So that's my fault. It's the first time I get a grant at Queen Mary, and I didn't know that. So the award has been the grant's been awarded and the contract's been signed. So am I uploading the award letter or the contract to change the bid to successful and move it on for your team?
No, that is a bit misleading really, because you won't necessarily always receive the award letter because it might come into the JRMO. It just depends on the funder. So when it comes to the contract, that's the pre-award team who will upload the fully signed contract onto WorkTribe. Yeah, because they'll be doing the contract negotiation.
Right, so I can just put a comment in there for the person that is doing the pre-award with me to remind him to do that?
Yeah, but what we find is with the award letters, if it does go to a PI direct, which as with some of the funders do, they're not telling us it's there. So it could sit there for a good few weeks. And it's not until someone says, well, we need a budget code for this. We've had the award letter for 3 weeks, but we don't know about it. So you have to put that comment on WorkTribe to let the post award team know that it's there, the award letter that you've uploaded the award letter. But don't forget to do the @ sign, because some people are not realising you have to do the @ to get the comment to the person you're directing it to. So a bit like Twitter, it's the @ thing, and then a list of people will come up and you just direct, because some people are just putting a comment on there without directing it to anybody, so it doesn't go anywhere.
I understand that bit. So I need to do that bit, and then the contract will be uploaded by the pre-awards person.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
If you say the contract already, if you've seen the contract, Sarah, and you know that it's been signed, maybe contracts team have actually got a copy of the award letter, because they don't usually get on and process it until they've actually seen the award letter. But anytime you get any documentation related to this grant, the award letter, anything associated with it that's of importance, or actually if you was to leave or something was to happen or someone took it over, I always advise people to upload stuff into the documents. The documents tab, and the whole point of WorkTribe, it's like, in my opinion, it's like the old school file that you used to have. So everything that you used to print off and save, that's where you just put the documents. It doesn't matter whether you think, oh, I'm not quite sure about this, and we're trying to steer away from people just saving it on their hard drives or whatever. Just save it in the documents. But for the award letter, or if you ever get an extension, or you apply for a no-cost extension, put it in there. And as Jan and Lindsay said, put a comment in the box, because even though a record will go saying that you've uploaded it, it doesn't trigger that to everybody else. And so you'll be sitting there thinking, well, I got the award letter a month ago, but I still haven't got a budget code, and I need to start recruiting, and that process won't be triggered until they know that it's there.
Right, I guess I got confused because the contracts team is obviously aware of the award letter, and we've been looking at the contracts together, and the contract's been signed. So in my mind, everybody knows. But what you're saying is that the post award team, this needs to be then moved to the post award team to prepare the budget. And I don't think we've done that bit, because the bid still looks like it's not under review, but whatever the expression is on WorkTribe.
And it takes a little while. Don't get me wrong, this is another thing. People need to be mindful of their expectations about how quickly things happen. Like you just saw the first slide of what JRMO showed, and all the awards and stuff that they work on. It's massive. So we all think, oh, we submit enough something and it's going to be done that same day. I'm not saying it's going to be weeks or months, but it's not literally going to be done within that day or the next day. If you're lucky and you catch hold of Lindsay and Jan and the team, you might well get it done. But there's just an expectation that actually this process does take a couple of days for them, and possibly up to a week, 10 days. So just be mindful of that. as well people's timeframes on how you think things operate. If
Yeah,
I'm
can I-
correct there, Jan and Lindsay.
No, you are. And can I just add to that? It's understanding where it sits on work tribe. So for instance, until it gets to project setup, it won't really reach the post-award team. So it's with the pre-award team up until then. So they'll move it to award setup once they get this letter of intent or an email of intent. And at that stage, we can give you a budget code for recruitment purposes only. It won't be set up the grant until we get the final paperwork in. But you know, you can start, and a lot of people are not aware that you can get a budget code at award setup stage. They think you've got to wait till it's project live, and that's not the case. I mean, I had this conversation yesterday where a PI was there and they didn't realise that you could do that. So it's just something to bear in mind. But if you feel that something's stuck in the system, like you're saying there, Sarah, something is you think should have moved along, then you need to make us work. So we need to find out why it's still sitting there. Because you're saying it's somewhere, it's not moved along to award setup, but you're saying you've got a signed contract.
I do have a signed contract, yes.
So if you could send me and Lindsay the work drive number, we'll look into it for you.
Okay, I'll do
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Thank you.
I think Anna's next.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity of discussing things. It's very helpful. And so my question is, you presented, so it's quite clear to me now, I'm a PI of a grant which is now past the first year. It's clear the entry, so when we start the grant and then what happens at the end with all the reconciliation of the budget. But is there any setup system to monitor the grant? For example, I just filled the first year progress report, and although it's not requested to have like a budget expenditure report, then I want just to have an idea how the grant, how the grant budget is being spent and any monitoring. And because the grant is held by Barts Health, but part of the budget is QMUL, so there is a bit of is unclear in my head how the budget is split in between Barts Health and QMUL, and whether, and I think it would be helpful rather than waiting at the end of the grant to have a reconciliation done after every year of the grant, is a 5 years grant, and whether there is a system already in place for that, which I'm not aware of, and any reconciliation that is done that is automatically done by the post-award people without me knowing about it.
Well, you should be receiving the monthly budget expenditure
Yeah.
reports for the
Yeah,
QM
we do.
share, but you are receiving that. But you're talking about a reconciliation across the whole project, including Barts Health. It's a
Yes.
different, Barts Health has a different finance system to us, so we're not privy to their system. So I'm not
I see.
sure. I mean, the staff should be reconciling the grant on a quarterly basis, but it's not
Okay.
something we really share. We were just reconciling to monitor underspends and overspends. And we'll look into that, whether there is a way that we can.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying. You want to see the whole, the bigger picture rather than just the
Exactly.
Queen Mary. We can take it away and see if there is anything that can be done. But as you know, Barts Health are a completely different system to us. But we'll see what we can find out for you.
I
Thank
would
you.
also, so adding on to that, Anna, whoever the PI is, all you need to do is contact them. They will, obviously they've got their own finance set up. They should be sharing that information with you to just confirm that they're correctly reporting what your spend is. So if you have a sub project attached to it, I'm not sure how you're linked into the project, but they should be sharing that information with you just to confirm that it's accurate on your behalf.
Yeah, I'm the PI, and I'm getting the monthly expenditure report, but still having the overall picture. I think the overall picture would be nice to get it throughout and also reconcile with the with the Barts Health.
Yeah,
Just
you
to
just
have
need to
it's
request
my
that from whoever.
first. Yeah, it's my first grant, so it's good to have an idea how things are going and to have the overall
Sure.
picture.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to request that. And again, bring in, Anna, I can never remember whether you're primary care or public health, bring in Charlotte,
Yeah,
who should be able to support you with making sure that you get regular updates on that. And especially when it comes to reporting, because what you don't want is by the time a report's due and something's off and you're at that stage where you've got no knowledge of it. That shouldn't happen, because if you're tracking it through the progress, that shouldn't happen. That's not to say it doesn't happen.
Okay. Thanks.
Who's next?
I'm not sure who was next. Laura?
No.
I'm just going down the list. So if I am going in the wrong order and you think I've had my hand up for ages, I apologise.
Hi, I was just wondering how the change in pay scales affects the staffing budgets, especially those that have already been sort of estimated and agreed. Like what's like how do you have to reprofile it, or how does that work?
Right. Well, obviously, because we don't get notified really well in advance of pay scales. So again, it depends on the funder and the terms and conditions. Invariably, you have to find it from within the grant if you're allowed to vie. So say for UKRI, you can vie between the DI headings. So you have to find it from within the grant. The charities, Linz, I'm not.
Yeah, I think again, it all depends on the charity. You know, Bart's charity, 9 out of 10 times they will fund it, but it's very similar now to the UKRI. You have to find it in other, if it's a big, you know, quite a big sum you're looking at, then sometimes you have to find it in the other headings. It's dependent on the size of the cost. The charities, they're a charity, so they can't always fund that, but 9 out of 10 times you find it in your other headings. If you're staying on the same grade, Bart's charity used to support that, and they'd pay that. But I think it's a question the grant holder would have to have with the charity if it looks like it's going to overspend, and put a case forward if the overspend looks too much to manage, and then it's a case by case basis really.
Yeah, it is, because we wasn't expecting such a generous pay award this year, to be honest. Nice, but we weren't expecting it. So you can imagine that's going to impact on your costs without a doubt. And I think it's just about being prepared for that. As Lizzie said, a lot of the funders now, it's cash limited. This is what you're going to get. We're not going to give you any more. Again, it is a case by case basis. So if you know something's heading for the overspend or is going to be overspent, then the PI needs to sort of either take action or find out where the additional costs are going to come from within the institute, possibly.
Yeah,
I think this is going
funder.
back to looking at your expenditure reports
Yeah.
and on a timely basis tracking. So I know you already do this, Laura. I've heard about your financial project or your spreadsheet that you use. So how you track the spend, and if people have got time to actually also forecast. So you've got an early heads up that actually where the shortfall is going to fall. You look at the terms and conditions. Most grants, as Lindsay and Jan said, you can via between
Headings.
DI, headings, the salary and the non-consumables, non-salary headings, but that's not always the case. 9 times out of 10 you can, so it's quite easily, as long as there's not a massive amount. If there isn't, if you've got a heads up on it, this is where the PI should be going to the funder and actually alerting them as early as possible. Don't leave it to the last minute or the end of the grant for you to be overspent, you're running into trouble paying someone's salary. So it's all about monitoring and kind of doing a small forecast every so often and keeping your PI in the loop.
Yeah, because we've had a similar thing, as you know, with the stipends. Suddenly a big hike in the stipends. Again, same thing. You may get to where some will pay it like UKRI, but that minute they're only agreeing to pay to the end of March. God knows what they think is going to happen after March 23, but we've heard nothing more about it. So yeah, so they're also going to be similar to the salaries. You're going to head for an overspend if the funder doesn't pay the additional costs of these hikes that are now coming in above and beyond.
That answer your question?
Sorry.
No,
Is the standalone budget sort of matching the new scales now, so we can read?
I don't know what's behind the standalone. There is inflation behind there, but I'm not sure what.
I thought there was a comment on WorkTribe yesterday. It was put up yesterday to say that the new scales are on there. So they should be all included when you do your standalone. But check that out on the home page of WorkTribe. I'm sure I see that yesterday.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's very helpful.
Georgina?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and it's really helpful to go through this. My question, you kind of touched on it, but I just kind of want to make sure that it's crystal clear in my mind around issuing a grant code. once you've received the letter of intent or an email of intent to fund, because I've just experienced an 8-week delay on a grant because I need to recruit someone, but I had to wait for the award letter. So I was just wondering how like the process works.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't think it's well publicised that you can get a budget code at award set up, but this is about to change. The processes are about to change. So what we were doing was upon request. So when people were saying, can we have a budget code, we were giving it. So it wasn't a matter of course. Well, going forward, it's going to be a matter of course that we will give you a budget code on WorkTribe at award setup stage. So you should be able to go in and see it then. Yeah, because I realise it is holding up, but because it's just not well publicised, that's all. So we had this conversation with Sab yesterday, who wasn't aware that you could get a budget code. So yeah, so I'm sorry that you've had to wait that long, probably because it's just a lack of communication, to be honest with you, at that stage. Because I say it doesn't reach us till it gets to project setup stage. So while it's sitting as award setup, it's still with the pre-award team. You know, so it's kind of like it's the halfway house, if you see what I mean. So it's not really fitting into anyone's responsibility at the time. And that's probably why it's not been well communicated, but that is about to change. So yeah, I'm sorry that's happened to you, but going forward, that shouldn't be the case.
So that from my perspective, what I kind of need to make sure is happening for the grant is that it's in the award setup stage. So once I've sent through a copy of so normally what I do is have a copy of the email, the letter that says your grant's been successful. Yeah, upload that and then just wait or ask for that to go to award setup stage. Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Can I just say on the back of that, I might be wrong, so Lindsay and Jan, let me know. So where you just said about it's going to become commonplace that you might possibly get a budget code straight away. I think what's happened in the past is if you've got a grant that actually isn't due, it gets awarded in March, but actually you wasn't planning on starting in September, then there's no urgency to start the recruitment. So hence we wouldn't have been badgering for a budget code because we think we'll give JMMO the time and obviously it will come through in time. If you've got an award and you know that actually it's due to start in 6 weeks or 4 weeks, or for whatever reason, the time frame's a lot shorter and you've got someone who, you've got a project manager or researcher that you need to recruit, or you've got someone already earmarked, that's where the urgency comes in needing the budget code. So there's the difference between kind of the time frame and the setup. So I think where we have had cases where we have gone to JMMO and said, oh, actually, look, we need to recruit a little bit quicker, than they have provided that. But like you say, it's not been a common process as such. So you can, it does happen, but I think it's on probably just the kind of the timing and thinking, oh, well, actually, let's just ask if we can get it, as opposed to it has been a step in the process. So I hope that makes sense. Who's next? I'm just going to jump in. I've got Helen and Nicola. I've just seen a question from Ratner. So Ratner says, there's no silly questions. Is there a difference between the award letter and is the award letter and the contract the same thing? No, they're not. So the award letter is what comes from the funder. So when you submit an application, the award letter is them saying, yes, you've been awarded X amount, what you asked for. I don't know whether do funders still like shrivel down money. I know occasionally they used to take out aspects. I think they're pretty good on what you ask for is what you get these days. So you don't need to worry about that.
That's right.
So in the main, you'll get an award letter that says, yes, this is your start date. This is the breakdown. Yes, might get feedback on your application, or it'll be declined. The contract is where the contract team start to create a contract, and that's between the funder, QM, any other parties. So they're the same, but they're not the same. That probably, I'm not sure whether that answers your really, question right now. Really the contract's more detailed and it's more a legal document that will, it goes on for pages. I mean, I couldn't outline everything that's included in it. It's more a specific legal document than an award letter. Is just the funder saying, yes, we're in agreement to that, because obviously the award letter will also have terms and conditions. So they're similar, but the contract is more detailed, and that will be done by the contracts team. And when you get the award letter, depending on who it is, you don't necessarily need a contract.
Yeah, can I just say there, Tracy, it normally is an either or. It's either an award letter or it's a contract. So if, for instance, commercial, it's always a contract, obviously, because there's IPRs, all sorts of things involved with it. But it's normally either or. We don't normally get both in some cases, but not very many. So you either get an award letter or you get a contract. So for instance, if another university is the lead on a then we'll have a contract because we have a collaboration agreement from that university if they're the lead, and vice versa. If we're the lead, then we have to give a collaboration agreement, send one out, and that's all done by the pre-award team.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Jan.
You made that sound so much better than I did, Jan. Maybe I should shut up.
I think both of you were great. Thank you.
Let's go over to Helen.
Good morning, and thanks for that. I have a very specific question. I don't know if I'm right here. So we do hire a lot of clinical staff, and we often have a bit of problem, and we don't really know how should we grade these people. So if we do have clinical staff, do we grade them according to their clinical position, or do we look for what is the QM grade, the appropriate QM grade? And also, how would we, I don't know if that is with you, would we then need to set them up in the same way on WorkTribe as on iGrasp? So we've had a lot of confusion about that recently, and I'm, at least in my head, I'm still not 100% clear on how to grade someone who's, for example, working 40% at QM, supporting a project as a clinical fellow, and working the other 60% in a hospital as a clinician. Do you know anything, or could you give any advice on this?
I wouldn't know about that.
I was going to say we might have to take this
it?
one off of line,
I think
Helen,
so,
because this is a pre-award. That's the pre-award
Is that
question.
more pre? Oh yes,
Yeah,
sorry, I'm a bit.
So it's pre-award, and obviously this is post-award. But I can probably take that offline with you and then speak to the likes of Richard and his team and get a bit more advice about how and Jerry on how best to do this. I know this comes up it's beginning to come up more often, so I appreciate it's important for us to know. And I think as an institute, because we are staring, I wouldn't say staring, but we do have a lot of clinical people, and that's sort of away from the norm or the standard. Becomes a little bit confusing. So I can take that offline with you, Helen.
Yeah, thanks very much. And sorry that I didn't realise it's not post-award. I just thought it's a question I need to have. So apologies for that.
That's fine.
No problem.
I think Nicola is next. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to answer your question, Nicola, because I see that you're ELF.
Oh, yeah, you definitely are, I'm sure. It's so lovely to see people's faces, and really nice to put faces to emails as well. That's lovely. So thanks so much. So I'm a PhD grant holder. I'm well in now, but this morning's been really helpful because it's I've got several questions. We'll try to be quick. The first one is, how do I get access to WorkTribe? Because I don't have that access. So I haven't been receiving monthly reports.
Can I just ask though, Nicola, are you half and half? Are you ELF and QM, or just ELF? Because if you're ELF, that's why you don't have access, because this is all surrounding being a QM employee. So what you don't have, you have to now take it all through Victoria as your centre manager.
Okay, great.
So either she will be able to track it, or she will track it with, it would have been Carol Ann who does the ELF side of stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so that's really helpful, because I think there's not an issue that's a big issue, but there's something funny about the reports that I have seen are split in two, but I only have one grant. So I'd really like to, not a meeting is very formal, but a catch up about why that is, to understand that. And I guess in my NHS role, I would have had like annual catch ups with the finance team to just look at what's happening to make sure we're on top of everything. But if I go through, Carol and Victoria, great. And then my other question is, I'm currently trying to progress a no-cost extension, and I'm wondering, I guess, when to chase and how to chase gently, because knowing that you guys will have a range of priorities, and there is a little bit of time, but not too much, because the no-cost extension affects salary, so it does need a rejigging of the financial arrangement, just to make sure that's all in agreement so that nobody loses out between ELFT and QMUL and the collaboration agreement.
Yeah. For a no-cost extension, if you've got salaries involved and you need forecasts of salaries, you need to contact the pre-award team, either
Also,
Jason or Richard.
So I was told to contact post-award.
Well,
By the pre-award team was this? Was you told by the pre?
I don't think it was. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the man's name now, but I don't think it was either of the men that you mentioned. I could find it momentarily and put it in the. Somebody else could ask a question.
Right,
Maybe we take this one. This looks like it's probably not quite standard, and probably because you're half and half, Nicola.
Yeah.
So again, maybe we take this one off of line and then drop me an email, and then either together with Lindsay and Jan, or like I say, I'll bring Victoria in. We will resolve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Thanks.
I mean, normally, if it's non-staff, we can. Well, you would have to actually tell the funder how much more money that you need, because only you know what you're going to be spending in the next 6 months.
You're talking about a no-cost extension, though, you said, didn't you?
What's helpful is I don't need any money, so it's changing from 0.8 to 0.6, so it's actually just making it spread further but work less.
Yeah,
if that makes
I
sense.
get it.
Oh,
So forecasts normally sit with us, don't they?
yeah.
Yeah, forecasts normally sit with the post-award team. If it's a no-cost extension, all you want to do is how much have I got left? How much will this buy?
Exactly. How much time?
That is us. Lindsay was trying to get out of it, you see, and pushing it elsewhere.
But yeah, I'll follow up with you guys after. Thanks. It's really helpful.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Sarah, you've got your hand up. I'm not sure whether that's historical or not. We'll next go to James.
No, it's not historic.
Oh, okay. I'll come back to
wait.
you. No, it's all right. I'll come back to you. We'll go to James first.
Right. Hi, team. We've been given an award from a US funder with the contract drawn up in US dollars. We calculate the budget codes were allocated in pounds in sort of peak Liz Truss time, where inflation rates were all over the place. At what points during the study do we reconcile the exchange rate difference?
So are we invoicing the funder in US dollars?
Yes.
Yeah. So if we can invoice on Aggresso in US dollars. So then it's the finance team who write off the currency gains and losses to a particular budget code.
Okay.
Yeah. So whatever we receive on Aggresso, that is what because we have to give the budget in sterling. Yeah, because that's all we work for. But we just can invoice in US dollars on Aggresso, but we don't work in US dollar budgets because that wouldn't make things clear. So you should be able to tell on WorkTribe if an invoice has been raised against your project.
Yep, I can see it. Yeah.
You can see that, can you? Yeah. So so is it in line with what you'd expect? I mean, without looking at the project myself, if you want to give me the WorkTribe number, we can look at that, and so I can just make sure that things are as they seem.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could do that after this. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. If you just send me and Lindsay the WorkTribe number, and we'll just look into that, and make sure that it is as it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you.
Sarah.
Thank you. So the question I have now is about collaboration agreements and subcontracting. So my understanding was the contract was issued, but we're meant to share with the funder all the collaborations agreement with the partners. I haven't got those yet. I'm waiting for, I guess, is the contracting team to prepare those. Are those in the pre-award, or are they post-award, or are they contracting? Where do they sit?
It's pre-award. They're costings and contract. Yeah, they're costing and contracts officers. So everything costing and contracts comes under the pre-award team.
So they will establish. Oh, sorry. Go
ahead. Go on. Yeah.
So they establish these collaboration agreements, and then once we have the budget, then they get funded through the budget code that we've got for the project once your team has activated that. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's partners in other universities, is there? Yeah, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so it's a bit complicated
No,
because
can't too complicated.
a lot of some of them are the universities, most of them are community organizations, and some of them are individuals. So it's a bit of a tricky one. Is a community partnership grant from NIHR. So it's an unusual setup because quite a lot. There's about 14 partners, and about 11 of them are small community organizations that are not registered on our system or members of the public. So it's a bit tricky. I think that's why the contracted team is taking a bit of time getting all the collaborations agreements out, because they have to do different ones. But so once those are done, then they come in, then make sure that those are fulfilled and paid, that comes into your side.
That's correct. So there'll be a sub-work order set up for the partners. So it won't be like, for instance, your budget code ends in an R primarily. So it'll be an S or T depending on what's available. Yeah. So the last digit will change, and that'll be the partners. So it'll be charged to a separate. So when you get your monthly budget expenditure report, you'll see the R code and you'll also see the S code on T, depending on what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how it's separated from your, because if we had it all under the R code, then it'd all become confusing. You wouldn't know where you were. So you have your own budget against the R code, and any partners, collaborators are under a sub-work order.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
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 James, have you got another question, or is that historical?
Sorry, yeah, historical.
Okay. Can I just take this up? Yeah, I was just going to say,
No,
can I just take this opportunity, because some people don't realise that we now have an international team. So this is where you're going to get slight confusion. So if it's an international grant where the research has got overseas partners, it'll be dealt with by them. So there's a post award team there. So you've got an international post award team, and we're the central post award team. So we may not be looking after a grant if it's got international element to it. So just to make you aware, because a lot of people don't know this international team exists, but it was part of the restructuring that we went through last year. So they created a whole new team, and that's where the EU team now sits, in the international team. They're no longer an EU unit standalone. They're within this international team. So you've got pre-award and post-award people there that will do contracts. So just to make you aware of that, of where it might get a bit confusing to start with, I think, until it starts to settle down, it gets embedded in. But just so you might think that it's sitting with us, and it's really not. I'm not sure how many of those you will have, but you might, like Newton's, for instance, GCRFs, those sort of things, all be coming to the international team.
is there any sort of organisational chart on your pages, Jan? Maybe we could share that with.
Right, I don't know if it's on. I'll check to see if it is on our website, because there is a structure, obviously, because it's all part of the consultation. So maybe we can either send you that, Tracy, or see if it is on our website.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to ask Nick, because Nick looks after the website, so we can ask Nick Good, can't we? So we'll find out for you one way or another. I just want to make it, I thought we've got this opportunity now, because I say we're coming across it quite a bit, and people go, well, I don't know, I'm coming to you, because they're so used to coming to us as a central post award team. You know, I don't want to feel like people are thinking, oh, we're just shoving it off somewhere, but that's what their remit is, international.
Yeah. I think that is one of the things. I think we were vaguely aware that there was a reorganisation going on, but I don't think we ever got details of what it looks like now that it's happened. I wasn't even sure that it had happened, or whether it all got swept under the carpet.
Last August, in fact.
I don't think we've ever seen what it looks like now. So hence why your frustration might grow, because I suppose we just stay with the historical people that we know to go to, as opposed to, well, actually the structure's changed, but we've never seen what that new structure now looks like.
Perhaps the comms hasn't been very good from powers that be. I don't know. We weren't involved in that. Yeah, but anyway, we'll send you it one way or t'other.
Thank you. Helen?
Yes, just to this international team. So just to clarify, everywhere where the funder is based outside of the UK, that would fall into that category, or?
No, it's not where the funder sits. It's where you've got overseas partners that are going to be receiving funding.
So if you've got a research partner on your grant, not the funder, So it
Okay,
could be
well, research
NIH.
partners who
Yeah.
sit overseas. It has nothing to do with where the funder is located.
No, that's where it gets a little bit confusing, because it'd be a lot easier if that was the case. But no, yeah.
And if we are a sub-project to a university who sits abroad, that would also fall into this category.
It depends, yeah, where the research is being carried out. So you're talking about research being carried out overseas, yeah, and we're like a subcontractor, yeah? Is that what you're saying?
We would do part
Yeah.
of the research
Yeah.
as a subcontract to a main
Yeah.
kind of like
So-
lead who sits overseas.
Sits overseas, so that's right. That would be international.
And is there a name you could give me to who would be overlooking this?
Are you talking about pre-award or post-award?
Both, ideally,
Both.
but you probably only have the information for post-award.
Well, no, it'd probably be best to give you the person that is the manager of that team, I think. So if we send that to you, yeah? I can't know how you spell a surname, it's Manier anyway, but I can't remember how you spell it. Christopherly? Christopherly, yeah, I can't know how you spell a surname, but I can send it that to you, yeah? So you know.
That's great. Thanks very, very much.
And then you can clear that with her as to, you know, whether it sits with her team or not, because that's what I'm having to do now. So it's not always clear to me either.
Yeah.
So I'm having to email Manu and saying, is this, because it's all to do where the research is taking place and where the funding, but obviously you've got various different schemes. You've got international exchange scheme, mobility scheme, and to me, because we've got to get used to this ourselves. You see what I mean? We're all finding our way around at the minute.
Yeah.
So I just go to them and say, well, does this fit in your team or is it in our team? You know. So I'll send you her details anyway.
Oh,
so
that
you
would be
can,
great. Then I could clarify that directly. Thanks very much.
Is that all right? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk. Talk.
Just sticking with that theme of the international team, where we've talked about the pre and post award officer allocated to a project being on the details tab of WorkTribe, will we see people like, I don't know, would it be like Stavros and Vicky actually like allocated to projects? Will we see that there, or is that not happening yet?
Well, you should see that there, because you've got Alina, who's the contracts person, yeah. Vicky, I think, is still involved in the EU at the minute. I don't know, she's doing EU and international. I'm not sure where she's sitting at the moment. So, I mean, obviously there's going to be this transition period, and I'm not sure people really at the moment. They're just taking on recruiting new people as well. So, but it should be on there. Perhaps we need to find out. Really.
Yeah, I think with this, you asked for the organisation chart. The names of everybody should be on the chart. So we'll find that for you and we can send that to you, and then you can send it round to everybody.
Yeah, that'd be
For
great.
information.
Say, like, for instance, Leah, who used to be in the Central Post-Award team, is no longer. She's in the international team doing GCRS. So Leah and Julie Ackland, her assistant, are both in the international team now. So just to make you aware of that. So any NIHRs that Leah used to do has come back to the Central Post-Award team. So, yeah. But it should be on the details, but we'll have to check that out to make sure that people are entering that. Because when Lindsay and myself are involved, then we put the correct people in, but I'm not sure what's happening with those. So we need to have that conversation, I think, with Manier to make sure that's happening, so that, because otherwise I do get it. A lot of people are saying, well, I don't know who to contact. Who do I contact? And I do get it, because it's confusing. So you really need to know one way or the other. So I'll take that up with Manier.
That's great. And I mean, that will stop the volume of email coming to you, won't it? So yeah, that would be a good streamlining.
That's the plan. So when it works out like that, I'm not sure.
Anything from anyone else? Okay, so I'll hand you back over to Patrick and Tor. Even though I've done a lot of talking, so I'm just going to say thanks, Jan and Lindsay. This morning's been really helpful. So thank you so much. But
if anyone thinks of any questions after the meeting, then just email
us.
Me and Lindsay, and we'll get back to you. You might have forgotten something or think about something after. Often the case, isn't it?
I'll just reiterate that. Thank you very much, Lindsay and Jan and Tracy, for all your contributions. I think it's been a really helpful session. Thank you for everyone that's attended as well. And I think we can close there, Patrick, if you're happy.
Yeah, very happy. Yeah, thanks a lot, Jen and Lindsay and Tracy. All really great advice, and I'm sure that everyone's found it really helpful. So, thank you.
Okay, good.
Thanks a lot, then.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
bye
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks.
Have a good Wednesday,
Bye.
people.
Bye-bye.
Bye.